Another loop, another series of experienced events. By now, Will had stopped paying attention to anything going on. Everything was so familiar that it had become background music. His first instinct was to rush to the parking lot mirror pole, when he suddenly remembered Alex had only agreed to lend him the thief class for one loot. The same could be said for Jace. It's better this way, Will reluctantly told himself. He needed more experience before attempting the wolf challenge again. With luck, maybe the boss would grant them a reward that would prove useful. A reminder to all students, the announcement echoed through the halls as Will made his way to the bathroom. We remind you to take care of your physical and mental health. There is no shame in seeking help. The school counselor's door is open at all times. Hearing it felt particularly awkward given that he carried a version of Daniel in his pocket. If the former rogue had been true to his word, there wasn't supposed to be anything stopping them from defeating the final elite on the second floor. Bro! Alex appeared a step away just as Will acquired his class. How'd it go? Anyone's immediate reaction would have been to jump away or attack the goofball. Logically, it was impossible for him to have arrived there. The door was closed and Will was fairly certain that there hadn't been anyone in the bathroom when he had arrived. Not bad, he gave a vague reply. I might need to borrow your class again at some point. Very soon, bro. Alex shook his head. You tried the wolf challenge, didn't you? There's no point in denying it. For all Will knew, his friend might have been there sneaking in the school while he leveled up. In theory, lacking a class prevented it, but as Danny had said, permanent skills provided a constant bonus, and Alex had been stuck in eternity for a very long time. What wave did you reach? Alex took out a muffin and bit off half of it, along with the paper. 8. For real? The goofball almost choked. What? I ran off at 5. For a single-class thief, that was rather impressive. It also put things into perspective. How many copies did you use? Bro, Alex laughed. Not enough. Those great wolves are vicious. Funny. From Will's perspective, they were the lesser obstacle. Once we pass the tutorial, we must get the band to try again. For real. Maybe. That was the last thing Will wanted. Helen might not be up to it. She's already got her class, bro. Alex grinned. I helped. Of course you did. Taking one last glance at the bathroom mirror, Will left the room. Alex didn't follow him, but by the time Will got into the classroom, he found him already there. The chemical smell seemed a lot more bearable this time, possibly because all the windows were already open. Helen was at her usual desk, reading an actual paper book. It wasn't the first time she had been seen to do so, though more often than not, she'd be holding a school textbook or nothing at all. Hey! Will tossed his backpack on Daniel's desk and went up to Helen. Hey, she replied without looking up. What's that? He asked, looking closely at the book cover. Sapphire diode? It wasn't a combination he expected. Science fiction short stories. The girl put the book away without further explanation. Jace told me about the crafter skill. She looked at him. Did you try it out? Yes, Will nodded. There were several more things he wished to share, but he felt that it wasn't the time. It's strong. The door opened and closed as Jace entered the room, almost as if he had heard them talking about him. Hey, stoner, he immediately said. Did you try it out? We were just talking about that. Will took a step away from Helen's desk. It's useful with other classes. Also, it combines weapons. Combines in what way? I used the chain and my dagger to make a chain blade. Lit, Alex managed to say, impressed by the combination of words alone. But I needed the knight's skills to use it. You won't be able to fight on your own. Yeah, what else is new? Jace went up to him. So, do we continue? He asked, then looked at Helen. Will did the same. Only Alex remained by the window, as if looking outside. Do we need to finish the tutorial? Helen asked. Things are fine now. Boring, but fine. The further we go, the more dangerous it becomes. She abruptly stopped. Danny pushed the limit every day until he didn't. The same might happen to us. Behind his back, Will clenched his fists. "It might be worse if we don't," he said. "We just don't know." "You said there were 5 names on the leaderboard. That means there are 5 groups in the tutorial. If what Danny said about the classes is true, there's one group that hasn't started. I don't know about you, but I don't want to end up being last on the list." No one said it openly, but they all knew what he was implying. Usually, it was the last of the list to be cut. "All right, we continue then," the girl said. "This time we go in force. We get as many mirrors as we can. And I'll get any shit I can use to upgrade stuff," Jace added. Will nodded. "Also, we level up according to a plan." The discussion came to an end as other classmates started arriving. Helen was joined by her clique. The jocks went back to making stupid jokes at Will's expense. Jace joined in, of course, but he was playing along. There even was a fake fight, which Will used to increase his loop length. When the teacher arrived, shortly later, the boredom of school began. On the surface, everything continued the same as always. Will, along with the other looped, played their parts in an eternity they were familiar with. And still, all of them without exception, were thinking of things to come. There was a good chance that this might be the loop to end the tutorial. A certain amount of excitement and anxiety came with that. Would the final boss turn out to be as strong as the hidden one they'd faced? What would the rewards be? And most important of all, what would happen afterwards? There was a good chance that the end of the tutorial could remove whatever protection the group had, putting them at the archer's mercy. On the other hand, that hadn't stopped him before. The person did whatever he wished, whether there were restrictions or not. After class, a car came up to pick Helen home. The 3 boys were left to their own devices. It was agreed that they get as many materials as they could, and also level up in the process. Since he knew the area, Alex hung out with Jace, helping him to level up as much as possible before the school run. Will did the same, using the partial reward he'd gotten from the Wolf Challenge. Going to several of the locations on his fragment map, Will manage to kill enough wolves to reach level 5. PARALYSISRESISTAANCE. Diminish the effects of poisons on you. BSCKSTAB. Perform a weak but unexpected attack with a sharp weapon. ROGUESENSA. Spot hidden traps and mechanisms. The latest set of skills stared at him from the mirror's surface. Waiting patiently for the wolf corpses to fade out of existence, Will tap the mirror again to claim his Wolfpack reward. Sadly, all he received was a 1-hour loop extension. Unlike the last loop, the random skills were pretty bad this time. None of them were permanent, and they all had to do with increased weight and inventory capacity. Hopefully, once the tutorial was over, he could take advantage by challenging all the elites the group had faced and obtaining some loot drops. Just as Will was about to leave the basement he had snuck into, 2 red messages appeared on the mirror. CLASSDUPLICATION. Only one rogue can be present. Freezing eternity. Yeah. Danny's reflection appeared in the mirror. Instantly, Will reached into his pocket to check his fragment. It was there in perfect condition. Hastily, the boy went through all the sections. There didn't seem to be any changes, and yet the former rogue had managed to make an appearance unchallenged. "Chill. I haven't run off," he said, amused by Will's concern. "Just wanted to have a chat before you deal with the boss." "I didn't challenge you," Will uttered. "Challenge is your way to call me. I've got other means to call you." This wasn't something that had been mentioned before. "You're going to end the tutorial, right?" Danny pressed on. "That's the plan. We'll try to appear calm." "Okay. After you kill the boss, I want you to press the fragment against him. Doesn't have to be anywhere specific. Just do it before Helen fades him away." Several red flags popped up in Will's mind. "Why? What are you, 5? Danny smirked. "I'm asking you." That should be enough. That was the problem with their agreement. In theory, Will was free to refuse, but there was no telling what damage his former classmate would do if that were the case. It was already illustrated that he could appear in mirrors at will. Quite possibly, he had other tricks up his sleeve. "It won't be easy," Will said. "I don't know what I'll be facing." "You'll handle it. You're a rogue, after all." "Don't I get any help? Some assistance or info or something?" "Oh, I'll lend a hand. Provided there's an intact mirror anywhere there. You'll have to snatch the weapons before anyone sees them, though." "Yeah, I'll do that. So, we have a deal. Remember, you must do it before Helen gets the loot. I'll do what I can. Oh, and make sure Alex doesn't see you." This was unexpected. The goofball had the tendency of being overly nosy. But why would Danny be so concerned? Did something happen between you two? I don't trust him. And neither should you. Consider this a freebie. Very funny. How about you give me some actual... As Will blinked, he found that he was talking to himself. Danny's reflection was gone, as were the red messages. If it hadn't been for the entire time freeze, one might consider this whole thing a trick of the mind. Will looked at the mirror fragment. He had the option of challenging Danny to continue the conversation. Would that be of any benefit? Most likely not. A task had been given, and it was up to him to see it through or not at all. "Bastard," Will whispered, then left the basement. With a while left till the meeting time, he wandered aimlessly within his allocated eternity zone. According to the map in his fragment, the area was simultaneously larger and smaller than one would expect. A lot more was encompassed than the school itself, yet the moment one ventured to explore any part of the area further, he found himself on the verge of leaving it. Often, the invisible barrier would go through entire buildings, splitting them in different sections. As tempting as it was to take a single step beyond to see what would happen, Will decided not to. If all went as planned, the area might be gone by the end of the loop. If not, eternity would provide instructions on what to do. The phone in Will's pocket vibrated. He'd received a text of a moose head and a coffee cup followed by the question, "Want anything?" It wasn't difficult to tell who had sent it. Jason Helen quickly replied with a firm no. After some consideration, Will sent a moose head in response. The way things were going, he wasn't going to say no to some chocolate moss.